The auction house on Meridian Station smelled of engine grease, desperation, and too many species crammed into too small a space. Kira Matthews wiped sweat from her brow, leaving another streak of grime across her face. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical knot, wisps escaping to frame a face more accustomed to frowning over engine schematics than smiling at strangers. Lot 437. Unidentified vessel, Sector 9 salvage. No guarantees, no refunds, called the auctioneer, a six-armed Vespian whose mandibles clicked rhythmically between announcements. Kira's pulse quickened. She'd been waiting 3 hours for this lot. The hologram displayed a sleek vessel unlike anything in common galactic design, all curved lines and iridescent hull plates that seemed to shift color with each rotation of the display. Starting bid 5,000 credits. Silence filled the room. Most salvagers wanted familiar tech, things they could strip and sell part by part with guaranteed buyers. This strange ship represented risk. Risk was exactly what Kira needed. 6 months behind on her hangar rental, 2 months from losing her engineering license for unpaid guild dues. She needed a miracle, not another safe bet. 4,000, the auctioneer tried again. Kira's hand shot up before her brain could stop it. 3,000, she called. The Vespian's compound eyes blinked in surprise. 3,000 from the human, going once. A moment passed that felt like eternity. Or twice. Kira held her breaths. Sold to the human female in Section C. 2 hours later, Kira stood before her purchase, dwarfed by its elegant form now resting in her rented hangar. Up close, the ship's hull wasn't simply iridescent, it seemed alive, shifting subtly like the surface of a soap bubble. No manufacturer's marks, no standard access panels. Nothing in her 15 years as a deep space engineer had prepared her for this. "What are you?" she whispered, running her fingers along the smooth surface. As if responding to her touch, a seam appeared in the previously seamless hull, widening into an entranceway. Kira jerked her hand back, heart pounding. "Automated response systems, fancy," she muttered, trying to calm herself. "At least I won't need to cut my way in." The interior was even stranger, corridors that curved organically, lighting that activated with her presence, moving with her like a gentle wave. The ship wasn't just advanced, it felt ancient, purposeful. In what she assumed was the bridge, Kira found control interfaces unlike any she'd encountered, semi-translucent and seemingly designed for hands with 6 fingers instead of 5. But it was the door beyond the bridge that truly caught her attention, sealed not with standard mechanics but with an intricate pattern that pulsed with soft blue light. "Some kind of security lockdown," she murmured, examining the patterns. As an engineer who specialized in alien tech integration, she recognized the mathematical sequence, a simple Fibonacci spiral. Almost instinctively, she traced the pattern with her fingertip. The door dissolved. Cold mist billowed out, momentarily blinding her. As it cleared, Kira found herself facing a chamber dominated by a crystalline pod. Inside, suspended in luminescent fluid, floated a humanoid figure. Tall, with silver-blue skin that seemed to capture and reflect light from within. Features that were almost human but more refined, elongated. Hair like spun platinum floating around a face of unearthly beauty. Male, she realized with a start. And definitely alive, the monitoring systems alongside the pod displayed vital signs unlike human norms but steady and strong. Without warning, the being's eyes snapped open, entirely silver with no visible pupils, yet somehow unmistakably focused on her. The fluid in the pod began draining rapidly. Kira stumbled backward as the front of the containment unit dissolved. The figure stepped out, water sheeting off his tall form, clad only in a simple garment that clung to his body. He towered over her by at least a foot, his movements graceful despite what must have been a long hibernation. He spoke a melodic language unlike any she had encountered in her travels. I don't understand," Kira stammered. The being tilted his head, studying her intensely. Then he reached forward, his 6-fingered hand hovering near her face. "May I?" he asked, now in perfect standard, his voice deep and resonant. Before she could answer, the hangar's perimeter alarm blared. Someone was attempting to override her security protocols. The being's silver eyes narrowed. "We must leave immediately," he said, suddenly urgent. "They have found me sooner than I anticipated." Who's they?" Kira demanded. "Who are you?" His gaze softened as he looked at her, something like wonder crossing his features. "I am Talon, last prince of the celestial sovereignty, and you, it seems, are the one foretold." His hand finally made contact with her cheek, sending an electric shock through her system. "The one who would awaken me at the hour of greatest need." "I didn't sign up for this," Kira muttered, frantically initializing the ship's launch sequence. Her fingers fumbled over the alien controls as warning klaxons blared throughout the hangar. Talon moved with liquid grace, his 6 fingers dancing across the interface panels. The huntsmen of House Varex have tracked the beacon in my stasis pod. We have perhaps 3 minutes before they breach your security measures. My security, Kira began indignantly before a thunderous boom shook the hangar doors. Point taken. The ship hummed to life beneath them, systems awakening in cascading waves of light that pulsed along the walls like bioluminescent organisms. Kira felt it responding to her somehow, anticipating commands before she fully formulated them. The celestial vessels bond with their pilots, Talon explained, noticing her wonder. It recognizes your neural patterns already. That's impossible, I just bought this thing hours ago. Talon's silver eyes studied her with unnerving intensity. Nothing about this is coincidence, Kira Matthews. The way he said her name, as if tasting each syllable, sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. She busied herself with the navigation systems to hide her reaction. There, she activated the main thrusters, and the ship lifted smoothly, defying gravity with an elegance no human vessel possessed. Hang on to something. They shot through the emergency exit hatch, scraping the sides with a screech of protesting metal. Below them, the hangar doors burst open, revealing 3 armored figures who immediately opened fire. Energy pulses glanced off the ship's hull as Kira pushed it into a steep climb. Atmosphere breach in 60 seconds, she called, strapping herself into what she assumed was the pilot's chair. To her surprise, it reshaped itself around her body, providing perfect support. Talon stood unmoved by the ship's acceleration, studying the pursuing crafts on the sensor displays. They're in Imperial Huntsman vessels, fast but limited in deep space capability. So we need to get past the jump point, Kira concluded, plotting a course toward the edge of the system. Who exactly are these people, and why are they so keen to get their hands on you? I am the last legitimate heir to the celestial sovereignty, Talon replied, his voice carrying an ancient weight. My cousin Marvek orchestrated a coup while I was on a diplomatic mission. I was betrayed, placed in stasis, and this ship was set adrift. And I just happened to find you at auction. Not happened, Talon moved closer, his tall form looming beside her. Destined. Kira barked a laugh. I don't believe in destiny, Your Highness. I believe in bad luck and worse timing. The ship shuddered as a blast grazed their port side. Kira swore colorfully in 3 languages as she executed a spinning dive that would have caused a blackout in conventional vessels. The ship responded flawlessly, almost joyfully, to her commands. You have exceptional piloting skills, Talon observed, steadying himself with one hand on her chair. Needed them to survive. Kira pushed the engines harder, jump point in 40 seconds if we make it. 3 sleek black ships appeared on their tail, weapons fully charged. They're locking on, Kira warned, attempting evasive maneuvers. Talon placed his 6-fingered hand over hers on the controls. Instantly, warmth flooded through her arm up her spine into her mind. Their consciousness merged, not completely, but enough that she glimpsed staggering depths of memory spanning centuries, felt his shock at finding himself awakened by a human, sensed his growing fascination with her. What are you doing? She gasped, trying to pull away. Trust me, he murmured, guiding her hand in a pattern that made no logical sense. The ship responded by folding space around them, not a traditional jump, but something that bent reality itself. Stars streaked and blurred, and then they were elsewhere, drifting in the violet haze of an enormous nebula. Kira's hand trembled beneath Talon's. That wasn't standard hyperdrive technology. No, he slowly withdrew his touch, though the connection between them lingered like an echo. The Celestials developed quantum folding millennia before other species achieved basic space travel. She turned to face him fully, throat suddenly dry. Why did I see into your mind? My people form bonds, Talon explained, his voice gentle. Psychic connections. When our texts speak of destined partners, it refers to rare individuals whose neural patterns are compatible with our own on the deepest level. And you think I'm what, your destined mate? Kira couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. The ship accepted you as pilot. That alone confirms compatibility no other species has achieved with celestial technology. He knelt beside her chair, bringing his face level with hers. When I touched your mind, I felt no resistance. That is, unprecedented. Up close, his alien beauty was even more apparent, features that seemed sculpted from living silver, eyes that contained galaxies of depth. Despite herself, Kira felt drawn to him in ways that defied logical explanation. I'm just an engineer with bad debts, she said weakly, not some prophesied savior. Yet you found me when no one else could. Talon's 6 fingers hovered near her face, not quite touching. May I show you? Something in his gaze made refusal impossible. Slowly, she nodded. His cool fingertips made contact with her temples, and suddenly she was elsewhere, standing in a vast chamber of crystal and light, where beings of silver blue moved in harmonious patterns. She saw Talon among them, younger perhaps but unmistakable, studying ancient texts that showed a figure awakening a sleeping prince among stars. The vision shifted to war, betrayal, violence, his desperate flight, the treachery that led to his imprisonment. Through it all, one vision had sustained him, the prophecy of awakening, of a bond that would restore what was lost. When Talon withdrew his touch, tears streaked Kira's face without her awareness. "I'm not who you think I am," she whispered. "I can't be." "You already are," he replied with absolute certainty. "The question is not who you are but what we will become together." Behind them, the nebula's gases shifted in cosmic patterns, casting their faces in gentle violet light. Despite every rational objection, Kira felt something fundamental changing within her, a connection forming that transcended species and logic. They were bound now whether she accepted it or not. The next 3 days aboard the ship, which Talon called the Astral Seeker, passed in a strange balance of tension and discovery. Kira learned that Celestials needed little sleep, that Talon's silver-blue skin generated its own subtle luminescence in darkness, and that despite his royal heritage, he was willing to work alongside her repairing the ship's damaged systems. "Your understanding of quantum mechanics is impressive for a human," he remarked as they rewired a damaged shield generator. His fingers moved with precision that made her own skilled hands seem clumsy by comparison. "Most humans haven't had to rebuild fusion drives with salvaged parts while being shot at," Kira replied, wiping sweat from her brow. The ship maintained an environmental state slightly cooler than her preference, comfortable for celestial physiology but chilling for humans. As if sensing her discomfort, the temperature rose several degrees. Kira glanced at Talon, who wore a subtle smile. "The ship responds to both of us now," he explained. "Another sign of our connection strengthening." She'd stopped arguing about this supposed cosmic bond, but acceptance still eluded her. "Tell me more about your people," she said instead, reaching for a molecular sealer. "If you're a prince, where's your kingdom?" Pain flickered across Talon's features. "Scattered. After Marvek's coup, those loyal to me were hunted. Many fled to the outer systems. Some may have survived in hiding, but our central worlds are under his control." "And what does that make you, king in exile?" "Celestials don't have kings." He paused, considering how to explain. "The closest translation would be harmonizer, one who maintains balance between the cosmic energies that sustain our civilization." Sounds mystical for a species advanced enough to bend space. "Science and spirituality were never separate concepts for us." Talon moved closer, his tall form casting her in shadow, just as the physical and metaphysical aspects of bonding are interconnected. Something in his tone made Kira's pulse quicken. Since that first mental connection, they had maintained careful physical distance, but the awareness between them had only intensified. "These bonds," she asked hesitantly, "how deep do they go?" In legend, the deepest bonds allowed pairs to share consciousness across galaxies, to feel what the other felt, to live as one being in 2 bodies. His voice lowered. In practice, even minor bonds allow emotional resonance, shared dreams, and heightened physical attunement. Heat rose to Kira's cheeks. "That sounds invasive." "It requires consent from both sides. The connection forms naturally, but its expression is chosen." Talon's silver eyes studied her with that now familiar intensity. "You've felt it already, haven't you, the dreams?" She had. For 3 nights, her sleep had been filled with memories not her own, soaring through star fields in bodies of light, communing with cosmic energies that humans had no words to describe, feeling a loneliness so profound it ached within her bones. "Those aren't my dreams," she admitted quietly. "No, they're echoes of my experiences." Talon reached out slowly, giving her time to withdraw. When she remained still, he brushed a strand of dark hair from her face. Where his fingertips met her skin, tiny motes of light appeared, dancing between them like miniature stars. "What is that?" she whispered, mesmerized. "Quantum entanglement made visible, our energy signatures recognizing each other." The ship chose that moment to drop out of quantum fold, arriving at the coordinates Kira had programmed, a small trading outpost on the edge of charted space. The sudden transition broke the moment between them. "We need supplies," she said briskly, stepping back and gathering her tools, "and information about any celestial activity in this sector." Talon inclined his head. "I should remain aboard, my appearance would draw attention." "Good point." Kira headed toward her quarters to change into less grease-stained attire. I'll get us stocked up and ask around carefully. The trading outpost Omega-7 was a haphazard collection of habitats and docking tubes, populated by species from 100 worlds seeking profit beyond the reach of galactic regulations. Kira moved through its crowded marketplaces with practiced vigilance, bartering for supplies while listening for useful information. In a dimly lit establishment serving intoxicants to a dozen different species, she finally heard what she sought: rumors of silver beings offering astronomical rewards for information about a stolen celestial vessel. Said they'd pay enough to buy a moon if someone found their missing prince, slurred a three-eyed Dravian at the bar. Kira nursed her drink, keeping her expression neutral despite her racing heart. Sounds like a fairy tale, she remarked casually. Nah, they're real enough. Imperial Celestials were here 2 cycles ago, cold bastards. The Dravian shuddered. Something unnatural about them, not like the old stories of the Star People. She carefully extracted what information she could without raising suspicion, then gathered her supplies and returned to the Astral Seeker. As the airlock sealed behind her, she felt Talon's presence before seeing him. "They're close," he said, his face grave. "How did you?" Kira stopped, realizing you felt my concern. He nodded. The bond grows stronger with time and proximity. "We need to leave immediately." She pushed past him toward the bridge, unsettled by how easily he read her emotions now. They were halfway to the bridge when alarms blared throughout the station. A calm, computerized voice announced, "Unidentified vessels approaching, defensive protocols activated." Through the viewport, Kira watched 3 black ships materialize, identical to those that had pursued them from Meridian Station. "They tracked us here," panic clawed at her throat, "but how?" Talon's expression darkened. "Not us, you." "Amazing." The quantum resonance. He moved with sudden urgency, grabbing her hand and pulling her toward the ship's core. "When our energies connected earlier, it created a signature they can trace. I should have realized." The station shuddered under weapons fire. Around them, the Astral Seeker hummed to life without either of them touching the controls, responding to their shared distress. "What do we do?" Kira demanded as they reached a chamber she hadn't explored. A spherical room lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. "We must complete the first bond." Talon's expression was both solemn and tender. "It will stabilize the quantum signature, make it undetectable." "First bond you never mentioned." There wasn't time. He took both her hands in his. "It requires physical connection, intimate connection." "Understanding dawned, you means." Yes, his silver eyes held no demand, only question. "It must be freely chosen, Kira, even now." Another explosion rocked the station. They had minutes, perhaps seconds. Kira looked at their joined hands, at the light dancing between their skin, evidence of something she couldn't deny existed, whatever its nature. In 3 days, this alien being had become more important to her than anyone in her solitary life. "Yes," she whispered, reaching up to touch his face. "Show me." Talon drew her against him, his tall form enveloping hers as his mouth found her own. The kiss began gently, almost reverently, but as Kira responded, something broke loose between them, a flood of sensation, emotion, memory cascading through their joined consciousnesses. Their clothes fell away as if by mutual thought. His skin against hers created patterns of light that illuminated the chamber, casting them in a private galaxy of their making. Every touch amplified, every sensation echoed between them, her pleasure becoming his wonder flowing into her. In that sacred space, as the station shuddered under attack, they completed the bond in an act both physical and transcendent. At the moment of culmination, the crystal chamber flared with blinding light, and Kira felt something fundamental shift within her cellular structure, as if parts of her DNA were being rewritten, illuminated, awakened to new potential. When awareness returned, they lay intertwined on the chamber floor, the ship humming contentedly around them. Through the viewport, Kira saw the attacking vessels breaking off, confusion evident in their erratic movements. "They cannot sense us now," Talon murmured against her hair. "The bond creates a protective resonance." Kira examined her hands in wonder. Faint patterns like circuitry now traced her skin, glowing subtly before fading to invisibility. "What's happening to me?" The first bond allows celestial energy to harmonize with your human biology. His 6 fingers traced patterns along her spine, each touch sending pleasant shivers through her altered nervous system. "You remain human, but enhanced." She should have been terrified by this transformation. Instead, she felt more completely herself than ever before, as if pieces of her being that had lain dormant were finally awakening. "I feel everything," she whispered in awe. "The ship, the stars, you all connected. Talon smiled, the expression transforming his regal features into something breathtakingly beautiful. That is the beginning of seeing as celestials see, the universe as tapestry, not separate objects. As they lay together in the aftermath of bonding, watching the hunters retreat through the viewport, Kira realized her life had irreversibly changed. Whatever path lay ahead, she would walk it beside this enigmatic being who had become essential to her existence. The universe had expanded beyond her imagination, and she had expanded with it. I still think this is a terrible idea, Kira muttered as they approached the sprawling space station known as Helion's Cross. The massive structure hung at the intersection of three major trade routes, its central hub surrounded by rotating rings that sparkled with the lights of countless habitats and businesses. 2 weeks had passed since their bonding. In that time, Kira had discovered both wonders and challenges in her new connection with Talon. The enhancements to her physiology included accelerated healing, heightened senses, and occasional flashes of precognition, useful but disorienting. More complicated was the emotional resonance that allowed her to feel Talon's constant presence in her mind, comforting in its way, but an adjustment for someone who had cherished solitude. Jax Ormond is our best hope for information about surviving celestial loyalists, Talon replied, disguised now in garments that concealed his distinctive features. A hooded cloak shadowed his silver eyes, while specially designed gloves hid his six-fingered hands. Your history with him suggests he can be trusted. Kira snorted. My history with Jax suggests he'd sell his own genetic code if the price was right. But he does hate Imperial authorities, and he has connections throughout the Outer Reach. The Astral Seeker docked smoothly at a private berth Kira had reserved using the last of her credits. As they disembarked, she felt a ripple of apprehension that wasn't entirely her own. Your worry is showing, she whispered, tapping her temple. Talon's lips curved slightly beneath his hood. As is your excitement, you enjoy danger more than you admit. It was true, despite the risk, returning to civilization after weeks in deep space felt invigorating. The station hummed with life and possibility. And for the first time, Kira experienced it with enhanced senses that detected energy patterns, emotional currents, and subtle vibrations previously invisible to her. It's overwhelming, she murmured as they navigated a crowded promenade. Talon's gloved hand found the small of her back steadying her. Focus on my energy signature, use it as an anchor. She did, allowing her perception to narrow to the familiar pattern of his presence. The chaos receded to manageable levels. Jax Ormond operated from a high-end establishment called the Celestial View, named for its panoramic windows that faced the nearby nebula, not for any connection to Talon's people. The irony wasn't lost on either of them as they entered the opulent lounge. Well, drawled a voice from a private booth. Kira Matthews, heard you were dead. Jax hadn't changed, still the same rakish smile beneath cybernetic eye implants that glowed faintly blue. Still the same calculated charm that had once almost won her heart before she discovered his flexible morality. Reports exaggerated, Kira replied coolly, sliding into the booth across from him. Talon stood for a moment, assessing before joining her. Jax's enhanced eyes flicked to Talon with professional interest. New partner, not your usual type. Just business, Kira kept her face neutral, though she felt Talon's amusement rippling through their bond. We need information about celestial refugees, quietly. Celestials, Jax leaned forward, suddenly serious. Dangerous topic these days. Imperial hunters are crawling all over this sector, offering fortunes for information about their missing prince. Talon remained silent, but Kira felt his tension spike. She pressed on. We heard rumors about non-imperial celestials, loyalists in hiding. Jax studied them both carefully. What's your interest? Lucrative delivery contract, Kira lied smoothly. No questions asked, payment in quantum-locked credits. Always the opportunist. Jax's smile didn't reach his eyes. There might be a settlement in the Veil Nebula, reclusive, don't welcome visitors, but for old time's sake I could arrange an introduction. It seemed too easy. Through their bond, Kira felt Talon's matching suspicion. For old time's sake, she echoed skeptically, what's your cut? Just your promise to remember who helped when your fortune changes. Jax raised his glass in mock toast. I always knew you'd hit it big someday, Kira. You were too talented to stay in the salvage business forever. The conversation continued, details exchanged, but underneath ran a current of unease that both Kira and Talon sensed. When they finally left, coordinates for the supposed celestial settlement secured, neither spoke until they were several corridors away. He was lying, Talon said flatly. Yes, Kira's enhanced instincts had picked up subtle tells, micro-expressions, fluctuations in Jax's bioelectric field that her new senses detected. But about what specifically? All of it, I suspect. They turned a corner toward their docking bay, both now alert for danger. Through their bond, they coordinated without words, Talon monitoring the energy signatures around them while Kira scanned for physical threats. They were halfway to the ship when Kira felt it, a wrongness in the pattern of the crowd, movements too coordinated, attention too focused. Trap, she breathed. Talon nodded once. Without discussion, they increased their pace, moving in perfect synchronization. Three figures detached from the crowd behind them, moving with predatory grace that identified them as hunters even without their distinctive armor. Can we reach the ship? Talon asked quietly. Kira assessed options with tactical precision enhanced by their bond. Two exposed on the main concourse. Service corridors follow my lead. She pulled him suddenly into a maintenance accessway, using override codes from her engineering days to access restricted areas. They moved swiftly through dimly lit passages, the hunter's footsteps echoing behind them. They're hurting us, Talon realized as another path ended in a sealed door. Kira swore as her override failed. Jax must have sold us out completely, he's locked down our options. With grim determination, they turned to face an intersecting corridor, their only remaining path. It led to a vast hydroponics bay filled with terraced gardens that provided both food and oxygen recycling for the station. As they emerged among dense foliage, Kira spotted their disadvantage immediately. It's an ambush point, she whispered. Multiple sight lines, elevated positions. Before they could retreat, energy weapons discharged from three directions. Talon pulled Kira behind a massive nutrient tank as blasts scorched the wall behind them. Surrender the prince, called a voice with the distinctive harmonic overtones of Imperial Celestials. The human female will be spared if she cooperates. Talon's expression hardened. They lie, they cannot allow you to live knowing what you know. Kira drew her own weapon, a compact pulse pistol that suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. Any ideas? Through their bond flowed not fear but a strange, calm determination. Talon took her free hand in his. There is another level of bonding. It would give you access to celestial abilities beyond what you've experienced, energy manipulation, defensive capabilities. Why haven't you mentioned this before? Because it's irreversible, he said solemnly, and dangerous. Our life forces become permanently intertwined. If one dies, the other follows. Energy blasts struck their shelter, material disintegrating under the assault. They had seconds at most. Do it, Kira said without hesitation. Talon pressed his forehead to hers, six-fingered hands cradling her face. Words in the ancient celestial tongue flowed between them as energy began spiraling around their joined bodies, visible now even to normal human perception as a swirling vortex of silver-blue light. The hunters hesitated in their approach, recognizing the ritual too late to intervene. Pain lanced through Kira as cosmic energy rewrote her on a fundamental level, but Talon absorbed the worst of it, channeling the transformation through his more resilient biology. When the light receded, they stood transformed, Kira's eyes now bearing flecks of silver, Talon's skin showing traces of human coloration along his palms where they touched hers. Now, he whispered, we fight as one. What followed was unlike any combat Kira had experienced. Moving in perfect coordination, they became a blur of synchronized action. When Talon gestured, energy shields formed around them both. When Kira focused her intent, offensive pulses emanated from her fingertips without requiring a weapon. The hunters, though skilled, were unprepared for the efficiency of a fully bonded pair. Within minutes, two lay unconscious, while the third was cornered against the hydroponics filtration system. Kira approached, energy still crackling around her transformed body. Who sent you? Marvik himself. The hunter's silver eyes widened at the sight of her, clearly human yet wielding celestial power. Abomination, he hissed. The sacred bond was never meant for lesser species. Talon stepped forward, hood fallen back to reveal his regal features. The ancient texts disagree, as does the success of our union. Tell my cousin his time grows short. Instead of answering, the hunter reached for a device at his wrist. Before either could stop him, he activated it, not a weapon, but a beacon that pulsed once before he collapsed, his life force self-extinguishing in an act of final loyalty. More will come, Talon said grimly. Then we shouldn't be here when they arrive. Kira accessed a station schematic through her enhanced connection to its systems, another new ability manifesting spontaneously. Alternative route to our dock, we have perhaps 15 minutes. As they moved swiftly through the station, Kira marveled at her transformed awareness. The bond had deepened beyond emotion and sensation into something transcendent, a unified consciousness that remained distinctly two people yet operated as one organism when needed. "Is this what being celestial feels like all the time?" she asked as they reached the astral seeker. "Not even for us," Talon replied, initiating launch sequences with mere thought. "What we share is rare even among my kind. In all our recorded history, perhaps a dozen pairs achieved full harmonic bonding." The ship lifted smoothly as station security alerts began blaring. By the time Imperial reinforcements arrived, they were already entering Quantum Fold, their destination now clear to both of them without discussion. "The true sanctuary," Kira murmured, seeing it in Talon's memories now accessible to her. "Your ancestral retreat." "Yes," he joined her at the navigation console, their fingers intertwining naturally. "It's time to gather what remains of my people. With you at my side, we can finally challenge Marvek directly." Kira felt the weight of this new destiny settling upon her, no longer just a human engineer with bad debts, but something unprecedented in galactic history. A human-celestial hybrid bonded to the rightful ruler of an ancient civilization. "I never asked for this," she said quietly. Talon's gaze held infinite tenderness. "Neither did I, but having found you, I would choose no other path." As the ship accelerated beyond conventional physics, cocooned in quantum probability fields, they sealed their new bond in the most human of ways, with a kiss that contained promises no words could express. The ancestral retreat of the celestial royal lineage hung in space like a dream made manifest, not a planet or station, but a massive structure of living crystal that responded to the presence of the astral seeker with pulses of welcoming light. Orbiting a binary star system too unstable for conventional habitation, its location had protected it from discovery for millennia. As they approached, Kira experienced a profound sense of homecoming that wasn't entirely her own. Through their completed bond, Talon's emotional connection to this place flowed into her consciousness. Memories of childhood visits, sacred ceremonies, quiet moments of contemplation among the crystalline spires. "It's beautiful," she whispered as the ship glided toward a docking array that reconfigured itself to welcome them. "The Heart of Remembrance," Talon named it in both celestial and standard. "Built by my ancestors 10,000 years ago as sanctuary during the cosmic upheavals." The 3 weeks since their escape from Hellion's Cross had transformed them both further. Kira's enhanced biology had stabilized, silver filaments now permanently visible beneath her skin when she channeled energy. Talon had grown more comfortable with human expressions and emotions, his natural reserve softening into something more balanced. Their bond had deepened beyond conscious communication into a harmonized state where even in silence, each carried the other's presence like an internal compass. The astral seeker docked with fluid precision, connecting to systems that recognized its quantum signature immediately. As they disembarked, Kira felt the structure's awareness, not artificial intelligence as humans understood it, but a semi-conscious architecture attuned to celestial energy patterns. "It knows you," she said with certainty. "And now, through our bond, it recognizes you as well." Talon led her through corridors that illuminated as they passed, revealing intricate patterns inlaid with materials unknown to human science. They had expected to find the sanctuary empty, a base from which to begin their resistance. Instead, they encountered life. Figures emerged from side passages. A dozen, then dozens of celestials, their silver blue skin and six-fingered hands immediately identifying them despite their simple attire. They regarded Talon with expressions of shock and dawning hope, many falling to their knees in reverence. An elder stepped forward, his features bearing strong resemblance to Talon's. "Nephew," he breathed, "we believed you lost." "Uncle Veridian," Talon embraced the elder with genuine emotion. "How many survived?" 317, Veridian replied. "The Royal Guard, some council members, scientists, artists, those who could be evacuated before Marvek sealed the Central Worlds." His gaze shifted to Kira, widening at the visible signs of their bond. "And this is?" "Kira Matthews," Talon said formally, "my bonded consort and equal." A murmur rippled through the gathered celestials, surprise, confusion, even dismay from some. Kira felt their reaction through her enhanced perception, but stood tall beside Talon. "A human?" Veridian asked carefully. "The prophecies spoke of an awakener, but not." "The prophecies were incomplete," Talon interrupted firmly. "Our bond proves her worthiness beyond any ancient text." Veridian studied Kira with intensity before inclining his head respectfully. "The living crystal accepts her. That alone silences my doubts." What followed was a council of war unlike any Kira could have imagined. Within a vast chamber whose ceiling opened to the binary stars above, survivors of Talon's government presented reports on Marvek's regime, his alliance with mercenary forces, his exploitation of celestial technology for weapons development, his systematic suppression of ancient knowledge that contradicted his propaganda. "He claims you dead," reported a former intelligence officer. "Martyred in a terrorist attack he himself orchestrated, he rules through fear and a twisted version of our traditions." Talon absorbed this grimly, and our main world, Celestia Prime. "Suffering," said Viridian. "Resources diverted to military expansion, sacred sites desecrated, the Great Harmonic silenced." "The Great Harmonic?" Kira asked, participating as equal despite the subtle resistance she sensed from some counselors. "The planetary consciousness," Talon explained. "A network of living crystals similar to this sanctuary but planet-wide, connecting all celestials in shared purpose." Understanding dawned, a massive psionic network, and if it were reactivated, it would reject Marvek immediately, Viridian confirmed. His disharmony would be exposed to all, but the activation requires the royal essence, Talon's direct input at the central spire, which is undoubtedly the most heavily guarded location on the planet, Kira concluded. The council exchanged glances. An admiral of the scattered celestial fleet spoke hesitantly. "We have resources, loyal ships hidden throughout the sector, but a direct assault would fail." "Not an assault," Kira said, "an engineer's mindset finding connections others missed. An infiltration." All eyes turned to her as she approached the central holographic display showing Celestia Prime's defenses. With her enhanced perception, she saw vulnerabilities in the energy matrix others had overlooked. "Your technology operates on quantum resonance principles," she said, manipulating the display with growing confidence. "Marvek's additions follow conventional patterns, disruptors, shields, physical barriers. But here," she highlighted a thermal recycling system, "and here, a maintenance access for the planetary grid, resonance gaps exist." Talon stepped beside her, their energies synchronizing automatically as they examined the display together. Through their bond, his knowledge of celestial systems merged with her engineering expertise in a synthesis greater than either alone. "She's right," he finally announced. "A small team could penetrate the defenses using specific harmonic frequencies to appear as system maintenance."